pasuk that says, "V'shav avai lakecha shavuscha," that Hashem will return your captives or your returnees. So Rashi says, so al pasuk v'shav avai lakecha shavuscha. We're not going to be learning the titles. And on that pasuk that Hashem will return your returnees or your captives. Shoyel Rashi asks, it should have been, he should have written, the Torah should have written the verse, V'heishiv es shivuscha, and he shall return your returnees. Kavanas Hashayli, so the Rebbe explains what's the meaning of the Rashi's question. So he says, Aleph, b'mokim v'shav, tzarich li kasei v'heishiv. Instead of using the Hebrew word, and he returned, it should have been, and he returned others. Beis, a second question is, Shema nemar havai lekecha, why does it say havai your God? Ze ata nemar sha'agoyrim levashavu v'shavta havai lekecha. Just prior to this, it says in the Torah that what causes that Hashem will bring about the return of the Yidden, it's because you will return to Hashem your God. Mida keneged mida, it's literally a measure for measure. Aidei v'shavta adavai lekecha, through you returning to Havai your God, magim levashav, we reach to the level of that Hashem will return. Therefore, move on. It's mekach moving. For this is understood. Shap'ula v'shav v'heishiv mechuvenes klape Havai lekecha. It's obviously referring that Havai lekecha, the one who you return to, is going to be the one that will return the Yidden. HaKadosh Baruch Hu Hashem, Rashi replies to these two questions. Why does it say V'shav? That means he will return. And why does it say Havai lekecha? Rabbi Seinu Lomde Makan our Rebbes learned from here, metaphorically speaking, that the Shechina resides with the Yidden in the tzara of their exile. And when the Yidden become redeemed, so Hashem wrote in, already in the Torah, he wrote it and transcribed for himself a Geulah as well. That it's not just the Yidden will return, but he, Kaviyachol, Shuhu Yashuv Imohem, that Hashem, Kaviyachol, will return together with him. Now, the Rebbe, in his style, in Rashi Sichos, goes into a lot of detailed questions. We will skip all of that, and we will go straight to the answers, the explanation, what Rashi is trying to say, where he says over there, the Gimel. To be able to understand everything that, all the questions that we skipped, that he mentions earlier, we have to preface and explain what it says by every one of the forefathers. It says by Avram, it says by Yitzchak, it says by Yaakov, that Hashem was with him. So what's the simple meaning when it says that Hashem was with the Avos? Since the way Hashem acted with the forefathers was in a way that was beyond nature, supernatural, and all the nations, the people around them, saw that their success came from Hashem. Therefore, the Torah emphasizes that Hashem was with them. Though Hashem is found everywhere, he's not just found where the Avos were located. Like the pasuk said, he's found in the heavens above and the earth below. Like it says, the heavens and the earth I fill. So what does it mean when Hashem says in the Torah that he was with the Avos, each one individually? The point of being with them, as opposed to the way he finds himself everywhere else, when it says in the pasuk that Hashem was with Avram, for example, it means that it was revealed, it was evident. Even the goyim around him saw that he was with them, and he saw that their success, that they were successful because of Hashem's presence with the Avos. So the Rebbe continues, just like we find it by the others, last line in the first column, Kach gam l'gabi Yisrael, so too concerning the Yidden, gam bizman hagolus, top of the second column. Also during the time of exile, hakoil royim shakadosh baruch hu mashgiach aleim. All see that Hashem supervises them. Kifsa achas ben shivim ze'evim. It's one lamb amongst 70 wolves. Vihi mishtameres, and she's protected. From this, it's obvious Shakadosh Baruch Hu nimtza imam, that Hashem finds Himself with them. Like we saw already in the Geulah of Mitzrayim, Shehi HaGolos HaRishonah, it's the first exile. V'shoirish kol HaGolius, it's also brought down to the root and the source of all exiles. So really, whatever it says about Geulah Mitzrayim is something that is applicable and gives us an understanding of all the other exiles. It says that Hashem is with you. Therefore, just like during the exile, Hashem is with the Yidden. In a similar vein, also when they are redeemed, the Shekhinah is with them. All of this whole concept is understood without the pasuk that we are talking about now. V'shava is actually here to introduce, the way Rashi explains it, a new concept. Second paragraph in the second column, moving, but it's understood. This is not connected with the meaning and the indication of the pasuk that Hashem Himself will return with your captives, and not just with you, etc. This particular choice of language, that the return of Hashem is along with your captivity and returning from exile. This indicates metaphorically speaking, the Hashem is limited, if we can say that about Hashem, in the lands of the nations. And therefore, Hashem is as if kicked out of His own house. The Eibishter's presence and being amongst Yidden in their exile, to protect them from the 70 wolves, is just the opposite. He's in control. He's not in exile. He's found over there to assist them. And he's surely not in exile. In other words, the Rebbe is saying Rashi needs to resolve a seeming contradiction. When we talk about all over that Hashem was with the Havis and Hashem is with the Yidden and Geulah, that means when it speaks about all over that concept, it means that Hashem is there to spread His wings over them, to protect them, to save them from the 70 wolves. In our pasuk, where Hashem has to return with the Yidden, that indicates that Hashem is somehow also kicked out of His home. That Hashem is somehow, some way, k'viyachol, that He's also imprisoned and He's also some way limited like the Yidden are. So therefore, for that reason, Rashi comes to explain this pasuk in a very specific manner. Therefore, Rashi says, the meaning over here is something else. That the Shekhinah resides with the Yidden in the difficulties, in the suffering, in the troubles of their exile. That he is metaphorically found in the tzara of their exile. Dafke, we need to say that Hashem Himself is returning. Ois Dalet, again, skip the titles. According to this, understood what Rashi says. Rabbeinu lamdu mikan. Our Rebbes, our Chazal, learned from this pasuk. though there is an explicit pasuk that Ray says, Hashem says, I am with him, meaning my nation, in their afflictions, in their oppression. Mei pasuk imay noch betzara yoidim rakshim pnei avos shal kodesh baruch hu Yisrael larikish Yisrael nimtzoram betzara rachman slan tzara kodesh baruch hu kiviyach. From the pasuk imay noch betzara, we know that from Hashem's great love for a yid. So when Yidden find themselves in a difficulty, heaven forbid, Hashem is also suffering. For example, just to give a silly example, a parent loves their child very much, has to take, they'll say, their baby to the doctor to get their inoculations, to get their vaccines, and the baby is crying. The mother is in pain of their child's pain and crying and so on. But it doesn't mean that the mother is actually receiving a shot. The Rebbe gives an example of this that says about Moshe Rabbeinu, that Hashem appeared to Moshe Rabbeinu the first time when Hashem revealed himself to Moshe and told him to take the Yidden out of Mitzrayim, mitoy chasneh. Why did Hashem appear out of a thorn bush? So Rashi explains, koitz doiker, a prickly thorn bush. Why was he appearing there? Kedei laharis, to show shu mishtatev b'tzaran shel Yisrael, that Hashem Kaviyachol is participating in the difficulties, in the problems of the Yidden. Top of the second column, Tzareseim shel Yisrael Rachman l'slan goimrim loitzar v'tkira. The tzaras of a Yidden chas v'sholem cause Hashem pain, and as if he's being picked and stabbed and so on. Even when we say that Kaviyachol Hashem is experiencing the suffering of a Yid, it doesn't necessarily indicate that he himself, Hashem himself, is also in exile. Rather, that the suffering of Yidden causes him suffering. Like we said, the mother feels the pain of her child, but she's not actually experiencing the vaccine and so on. But in our parsha from here, from the pasuk in our parsha, that Avay Lekecha will return, derive Shashchina shruya im Yisrael b'tzaras galusa, and the Shechina himself rests with the Yidden in the tzara of their exile. Shashchina atzma nimtzas kaviyachol b'yachdim Yisrael b'golus, that the Shechina itself finds itself alongside with the Yidden in exile. It says in Ois Hey, according to this, the question arises: if also Hashem is in the suffering of their exile, how can he extract himself along with the Eden from the Golas? It's understood and known. It's understood and known, and even a 5-year-old studying Chumash that Rashi wrote for knows that someone that's imprisoned, someone that's locked up, cannot release himself. For this Rashi says, and when they are redeemed from exile, Hashem wrote inscribed for himself a redemption. Before Hashem inserted and embedded himself in exile, Hu kosav, he wrote, skip the parentheses, when it will come the time that they will be redeemed. So, loy tia lesarim amagbilim kiviyachol es Yisrael ve'es Kadosh Baruch Hu efsharus li'is'arev be'inyan shuvashav Hashem alakecha. There won't be a possibility for the ministers, in other words, the governments, any possibility for them to limit neither Hashem nor the Yidden. They can't mix into the idea that Hashem will return. This That's the meaning of Rashi in his words. He inscribed a redemption for himself. He inscribed for himself on his own redemption. Yitach and Lachshev, it's possible to think that Kivin Shehichtiv Geulah la'atzmai, since he inscribed for himself a redemption, when the time of the redemption will arrive, First Hashem will take himself out of the Golas, and only afterwards it will redeem the Eden. You know, like they say on the planes, first put a mask on yourself, and then once you're in the position of safety, etc., then you put a mask on your children, on others, etc. So you might think the same thing Kaviyachol is with Hashem, that he's first going to go out of Golas, and then once he's out of Golas, he'll take the Yidden out of Golas. Al Kach Moisef Rashi, for this Rashi adds, Shuhu Yashuv Imayim, that Hashem will return with the Yidden out of Golas. Sheyiv v'shav havaya lekecha b'yachdim Gulas Yisrael es shivuscha. Es is also another word for with, that Hashem will return along with the Geulah of the Yidden, with the captives, with the returnees. V'chol oid lo hushlam kibbutz hagolish shel kol Yisrael, as long as it was not completed and finished, the ingathering of the exiles of all Yidden, v'afilu Yehudi echad belvad adayim belgolus, even if one single Jew is still remains in exile, harishchina shruya im Yisrael b'tzaras galusam. So the Shechina is there with the Yidden in their troubles of their Golas. So he says in Lois Vav, last paragraph on the first column, La'ach Kolamer Le'il, after all that was said earlier, Adayin the movement is still not understood. Since the Shechina resides with the Yidden in their difficulty, in the troubles of their exile. Nigram Hevdel Gam Begeulah. So this also is caused a difference also in the redemption. Shakadosh Baruch Hu Yosei Atzmai Mitzaras HaGolus, that Hashem will extract himself from the troubles and difficulties of the exile. The main thing is what will happen with the exile. The main thing is we're trying to say, you know what? It's not just that Hashem is with them, protecting them, but he's also, like we said before, kicked out of his own house. But the Torah is not saying this when he's talking about Golas. The Torah is letting you know this when it says about the return of Hashem. So what's it connected with the return? Lachein mamshech Rashi, that the Rashi continues. We didn't learn that part. I skipped over that part. And Rashi says, V'oid yesh loimer. There's another explanation, or another way of explaining this pasuk. Shebebitui v'shav havaya lekecha, and the expression that havaya lekecha will return. Miskavenes ha'toira le'inyan noisef shekosher le'geulah. The Torah intends another concept that's connected to the redemption, because up till now we were just explaining about Hashem as in Golas. Here Rashi brings in from this pasuk something in the meaning of the word vishav, that it has to do with the redemption, l'kibbutz golius, to the ingathering of the exiles. In other words, a Geulah component. Kivin sha'kibbutz shall call Yisrael mikol mekaymes galusam hukashem, since the gathering of all Yidden from all places of their exile is difficult. Therefore it says Hashem will return in a singular fashion, instead of a Heshiv, which would mean like the Klal Yisrael, but rather in such a difficult type of job, it's recognizable that only Hashem is the one that's doing this. We're going to skip over a few parts. and the Rebbe was also talking about. Rashi was also talking about earlier concerning the fact that Hashem will take every single yid by the hand. That he says that the day of the gathering of the exiles, he said that it'll be as difficult, and he has to hold every single yid's hand and take him out of Geulah. So in that vein, the Rebbe is going to continue further in this topic. We're going to skip to Ois Tes. So the Rebbe is going to go into what he calls, based on the Shalah HaKadosh, what's called Yena Shel Torah, the wine of the Torah. The wine of the Torah is the inner secrets of the Torah that even Rashi, though it's Pshuta Shel Mikra, speaks about. Val Pi Yena Shel Torah, according to the wine of the Torah that the Shalah says is hidden in the words of Rashi, meaning the inner secrets of the Torah. According to what we said earlier, it's still difficult. Since in the ingathering of the exiles of Yidden, there is an importance by Hashem for every Jew as an individual, and therefore, moving it's understood, until the last Jew will come out of exile, top of the second column. The Shekhinah still resides in the troubles of their exile. If so, the question arises again. How is it possible that Hashem will redeem the Yidden in such a way that I mentioned before? Rashi uses the expression that he will hold as if the hand of every single person. When Hashem holds on to the hands, mamish, of the first Jew to take him out of exile in the way that he himself is leaving exile, he is leaving along with that Jew out of exile. Think about it. If you have to take, let's say, people out of a building, let's say, and you don't just herd them out, but you decide you're going to take every person out individually by hand. So as soon as you take one person out by hand from the building, so you've already left. So the same thing over here. If the Eibishter is returning with the Yid out of exile, so as soon as he takes one Jew out of exile by hand, so that's it. He's gone. He's not there anymore. The Eibishter is out of the Geulah. So therefore, the Rebbe is going to explain, because we're talking about the inner part of the Torah, it depends what type of level of godliness we're referring to. Second paragraph in the second column. We must say, the level about it says that he's holding mamish in his hands. Every single individual is a specific, constricted ray of godliness. That's bound up and divided, metaphorically speaking, to every Yid individually, that is the part that Hashem is connected with that particular Yid, and that is going along with him outside of Geulah. The Rebbe in the footnote gives an example, like we say, the Nefesh Hashem is B'Yisrael Chelik al Kamam al Mamish. Every Jewish soul, every neshama, the godly soul, is a part of Hashem above, meaning that's a limited form of Hashem's totality. So in a similar vein, that aspect of godliness that's involved in taking every individual Yid out of Geulah is a specific ray of godliness connected with him. Therefore it's possible is this specific ray that's connected with this particular Jew, that it's actually like holding on to the hand of that Jew, takes him in a Geulah. So that specific ray of godliness is leaving Geulah. It's like a specific spark that's being elevated. Not the same thing, but in a similar vein. Though other Jews are still residing in exile. As opposed to the redemption of the level, that's the primary and core part of Shechina, that's beyond being divided into details. It will only be after all the Yidden will be redeemed. Like Rashi hints at this, when they are redeemed, he transcribed a redemption for himself. The redemption for his self, his very being. It'll be when they are redeemed in the plural. When all Yidden are redeemed. Like he emphasizes, like Rashi emphasizes in his words, that he will return with them, like we said at the end of Oishei in the Sichos. Top of the next page. Concerning this, Rashi hints in his words, when they are redeemed, he transcribed a redemption for himself. Seemingly, concerning the redemption of the Yidden, they will see openly that it's a redemption from Hashem. Like it's explicit in many places written, like Rashi says in his commentary, in the second explanation, that he holds on by mamish by his hands every single individual. Why does he use the term, and when they are redeemed, which seems to be like it's happening by itself? So the Rebbe explains that according to Chassidus, there's two levels of godliness. There's the specific level of godliness that actually manifests and is in an active state. And then there's a level of godliness that's beyond the details, that things happen from it automatically. Let's skip the two paragraphs to the last paragraph over here on the first column. The level is connected to every Yid specifically, particularly. Every single person brought from his place. Magia hagula idei biyadav. So the redemption reaches each Jew individually, kaviyachol, through Hashem's hands. Therefore, it's recognizable as if Hashem is holding him by his hands. As opposed to when it speaks about that Hashem transcribed for himself a redemption, concerning Hashem's very essence, that this will take place when the general Klal Yisrael will become redeemed. And this level of godliness that's completely transcendent, it looks as if it's happening without Hashem's holding on their hand, because it's talking about Klal Yisrael. Top of the second column, another concept, he says, Inyan nois of nirmas v'pirish Rashi. Another thing is hinted in the explanation of this Rashi. True, that fulfillment of when they are redeemed, he transcribed the redemption for himself. We said, first there has to be every single individual. Then there'll be the sum total of all of its parts, that the whole Klal Yisrael will be redeemed. Still in all, in the first explanation of Rashi first says that when they are redeemed, he transcribed a redemption for himself. And only afterwards he say that he will hold on to every person's hand individually, even though seemingly the order is the opposite. First there will be every individual Yid, and then the whole Klal Yisrael will be redeemed. Ki ha'geula shel Klal Yisrael hi ha'goyrem sheyavi l'dei oiches biyadav mamish ish. The redemption of Klal Yisrael is the cause and the reason why Hashem is going to redeem every single individual as an individual. Mikach loimed Rashi hayra ba'avodas Hashem. From here, Rashi teaches us a lesson in the avodas Hashem. Kasher Yehudi writes a lot of Megalusei Apratis. When a Jew wants to leave his own personal exile, whatever it is, his challenges that he has in the service of Hashem and so on, he needs to put in effort and to do everything that's dependent upon him, so that all Yidden should go out of exile. These are not two separate activities. Ha-Yehudi olu a Jew could think, the other guy, he's in a very low level. That person is still in exile. And myself, I'm in a very exalted level. I'm already ready for the redemption. Why is my redemption dependent upon someone else that might not be anything like me, so much lower than me? For this, the Torah tells us at the beginning of the Torah portion, even those that are standing fast, the heads of the tribes, when could they be atem nitzavim? Only after it's fulfilled that you are all standing together. And in all of you is included even the wood choppers, even the water carriers. And then even the heads could be standing fast, could be at the highest level of kasher meskadmim b'seder zeh. When we proceed and we go on in such an order, muftach, we are assured that you are standing fast today. This is the great day of judgment. The Rosh Hashanah, Nitzavim. What does it mean? The word Nitzavim, the powerful stand. That means we're standing strong. V'zeichim bedin. We are meriting in the judgment. We become blessed with being inscribed and sealed for good, for a good year and a sweet year. Geulah, including a year of redemption. Sheyikuyim will be fulfilled. Hashem will return with your attorneys. Shakadosh Baruch Hu ba'atzma yotzim min hagolus kol Yehudi, that Hashem personally will take out of exile every Yid. Va'atam to look to le'echad echad bnei Yisrael. You will be collected one by one, the children of Yisrael, b'karev mamish, soon mamish.